Hello. I struggle with, my whole life has been fear-based and based upon external. And I've now, been on a spiritual journey of knowing that it's all within. But at times I get into my fears and everything that I know goes out the window. And I can't even think of like one little thought that might be close to hope and grace or whatever. And then I get fearful that energy, my vibration's low, and I'm going to bring in all this negative stuff. I'm going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I really don't want to live this way anymore because I have really great work to do. And I know it.
You say fear-based. What do you think your fear is?
Being judged.
Well, that's a valid fear because they will judge you.
Right.
And so if that bothers you, then because people are going to observe you and they can only see you through their framework, and so many people would feel better if you would comply to what they think they need you to do so that they will feel better.
Right.
But you sort of got to get over that.
How do I get over it?
Well, do you enjoy the sensation of fear?
Consciously, no. So
it is easy for you to consciously say that you prefer something that feels different from that, and that's really all that's required. In other words, when you assimilate what you've heard here today, that the sensation of fear always means that you will have activated a vibration that doesn't mesh well with the vibration of who you really are and what you really want, then a conscious awareness that you want to at least try to feel a little better is really all that is necessary. You've been like so many people who haven't been able to quantify your journey. You couldn't tell which way was the right way. And that's always what happens when you are seeking approval from others, because everybody's got a different idea about what approach you should take. And that causes chaos in your vibration as you're trying to please this one and this one and this one. If they'd all just tell the same story, it would be helpful, you see. We see people who are sick, who want to be well, who can't tell when they're moving toward wellness and when they're moving away from wellness. We see people who don't have as much money as they want or the relationship that they want that don't seem to be able to tell what thoughts are taking them toward what they want and what thoughts are taking them away from what they want. And so we want to address your guidance system in a way that helps you to make every journey quantifiable. We don't want you to overcome fear. Jerry and Esther were listening to a recording of a previous workshop as they were driving down the mountain yesterday. And Jerry had told the story of being in a television production years ago, and the wrangler had given him a horse, and Jerry felt very uneasy about the horse. And so Jerry just said, I don't think I'm a good match for this horse. And someone else who was listening accused him of cowardice. They said, you're afraid of that horse. And Jerry said, well, I'm not afraid of it. I just think it's skittish and it will slow the production down. I have to deliver lines. I don't think a jumpy horse is the best horse under these conditions. And the man who was making fun of Jerry jumped on the horse to show Jerry that he could control the horse, and the horse reared up and knocked his front teeth out with his head. And Jerry said, I felt uncomfortable about that horse. Why did that man not feel uncomfortable about that horse? And we said, because he had overcome his fear. In other words, he had stopped paying attention to his guidance long ago, you see. And
right.
So when you feel what you call fear, we don't want you to call it inappropriate or feel embarrassed that you have fear. We want you to be proud of yourself that you have the intellectual awareness that there's a vibration going on within you where something isn't jiving. And then we want you to make an effort to improve the sensation. And we think what goes wrong for most people is that they think that they should be able to jump from fear into bliss just like that. And we know that those vibrational frequencies are far apart. You've got to coax yourself gradually into a better feeling place. And we know that we're having a discussion here because you're wanting to get control of your vibration. But we would never again say, I have had a fear-based life. We would instead say, I've been aware of fear, and formerly I didn't know the message it was giving me. Now I'm appreciative of all emotions, positive or negative, because they help me know the vibrational relationship that I've got going with my own desires. Do you know that if you don't have a strong desire for something, you would not feel fear? The more you want something, then the more sensitive you're going to be to the thought that you're thinking. In other words, if you don't want something and you're focused in opposition of something that you don't want, you're not going to get a strong reading because it's not important. There's not a vibrational relativity within you. If someone you didn't know called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you I'll never call you again. You would say, all righty then.
Right.
But if somebody you really care about were to say that to you, you would feel some negative emotion about it because of the vibrational relativity. So, for example, a child doesn't feel fear in the way an adult feels fear because the child is still living in this environment of well-being and is still being guided from broader perspective. In other words, beasts don't feel fear. Their guidance is taking them to where they want to go. They're not running from something they don't want. It's hard for you to see that sometimes as you're looking through your human eyes, but when you get connected to Source, you feel a calling toward what you want rather than a running from what you don't want. Whether you call it fear, which means don't go that way, or joy, which means let's go that way, let's call it all guidance, and let's be appreciative of every part of it. And let's begin saying, I have a guidance-based life rather than a fear-based life. And now I am aware of my guidance. My journey is always quantifiable, and I so appreciate the emotions that I feel that let me know that I've got something activated by beating the drum of it that isn't doing me any goodness or well-being. And I'm going to see if I can't find something that feels a little gooder, that feels a little relief. And as you do that, before you know it, you will have left fear, that strong fear, so far in your past. You already have. In other words, in large part, what you're talking about is something that you're remembering. Something's going to happen, and you're going to look at it, and you're going to take that hit in your solar plexus when you see something that is really not in harmony with what you want. You're going to have a knee-jerk response to it. But the question is, what do you do next? Do you wallow in it? Do you join groups about it? Do you lie down and die in it? Or do you acknowledge it for what it is and choose something that feels better consistently enough until you're in a new place? This is the way you mold the clay of your life. One subject at a time, one conversation at a time, one friendship or encounter at a time. Just little by little, you choose the better feeling thought until, before you know it, you've cleaned so much up so quickly that you wonder what it ever was that you were so afraid of.
Right.
We don't want you to be afraid of fear. We want you to love fear. We want you to say, fear is that powerful emotion I get when my guidance system is saying, when possible, make a legal U-turn. Because I'm looking and thinking in opposition of something that I want. And usually it comes up when you are disapproving of yourself, when you are finding yourself inadequate, when you are afraid or worried that you're not going to get to where you want to be. In other words, it's always the big issues that bring the feeling of fear. And that's what we hear from you when you say, I have a lot of work to do. I've come here with great reason. Mm-hmm. We like your being sensitive to energy. We don't want you to be sensitive to all energy. We want you to be so sensitive to the energy of your connection that when you diverge from it even a little bit, you don't like it. When Esther has a thought that takes her into a negative emotion, she takes it as hard as she would have in former years if she'd run over someone with her car. In other words, the vibrational relationship, you get used to being in alignment with pure positive energy. And you've got to keep up with your own standard, you see. Mm-hmm. And so when you say I'm sensitive to energy, that's what you mean. I like the energy of connection. And I am not going to abide by the energy of disconnection. But don't beat up on yourself when you're disconnected. Instead, love your guidance. When you have an opportunity to recall what we've talked about here, you will realize that we have not missed anything that you want to talk about. That there is not a subject that has not been addressed. We have enjoyed this interaction more than physical words can convey. You are leading-edge creators, and you are responsible for the expansion of the universe. And you don't give yourselves enough credit for that. We want you to have more fun in your day-to-day experience and not take your physical life so seriously. We want you to reach for the frolicking, good-feeling, very wise, fun-loving being that you really are, and let that being come out and play with you more often. But you can't do that all of a sudden. You have to work yourself into that. And the way you work yourself into closer and closer alignment with that frolicking, wise, eternal being that is you is by making the best of where you are in every possible way. Looking for the positive aspects of it, even if they're hard to find. And beating the drum of those positive aspects until they're easier to find. It is our promise to you that if you will find one positive aspect, the second one will be easier to find. And even though momentum sometimes has taken you in a different way, and even though your feeling of competition is making you rather be right than feel good, in time you will discover that you're always right, because whatever you think is going to manifest. You're always right. What you expect is happening around you. You're right. You're right. We want to validate you. You are right. You're getting what you expect, which makes you right. But does it make you happy? That's the question. Do you feel good in feeling bad about your mother? Do you feel good in feeling bad about your government? And if the answer is, I don't feel so good and I want to, then choose your thoughts based upon this different criteria. And watch your life begin to blossom in ways that you have dreamed about, and in ways that Source has dreamed about, and in ways that are in your vibrational escrow, just waiting for you to catch up with them. And then enjoy the amazement that your friends and family will show on their faces as they watch the revolution of your life. As they begin to watch dreams that they've heard you only speak about begin to come into fruition. And people will begin to say things to you like, well, this must be your time, or the timing must be right for you, or you finally got that lined up. But whatever they are saying or whatever they are acknowledging, you must know that everything good you are deserving of. You are supposed to feel good, and headaches do not become you. You are supposed to feel good. And heartbreak does not become you. You are supposed to feel good. Frustration does not become you. Injustice does not become you. Wrongdoing does not become you. What becomes you is joy and appreciation and love and passion and energy and vitality and flexibility and good feeling. What becomes you is energy and humor. What becomes you is the stuff that you remember from your childhood, that you have wanted to launch into your future. You are powerful beings, you are creative beings, and you have done nothing wrong. And your Source adores you, and your inner being is with you. And we're enjoying your life experience immensely, whether you are, or whether you know that we are or not. Don't do it for us. We're getting ours through you. It was our promise to one another. Do it for yourself. You're supposed to be in on it, and you're supposed to be in on it now. There is great love here for you. We are complete.